The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Here's Nikki. Hello there. Welcome to the show. It's the Nikki Glaser Podcast. I'm the problem. It's me. I am in Los Angeles still. Andrew is in St. Louis. Noah is in Arizona. Great little morning here in Santa Monica. It's beautiful outside. Walked to get Starbucks this morning. Everything's good. I'm packing. I'm going to Atlanta for a taping. I get to sleep all day on the plane. That's awesome. I love going on a plane all day across country. I leave at 2 here. I land at 9:45 there. The day will be over. And in the plane, no one can get you. There's no obligations. There's no like urgent, like you need to do this thing. Like the world just is on pause when you're in a plane. Even though you can get Wi-Fi, it's the only place besides maybe if you go spelunking or on a hike up or if you're camping. Those are the only places. Plane, spelunking in a cave, or camping are the only times where you have an excuse that your phone is not. If you're not on
maybe
your phone.
Hospital could maybe work.
No.
Emergency
maybe
room.
Surgery.
Yeah,
surgery. If you're getting surgery.
Coma.
But hospitals have great Wi-Fi. But what I'm saying is those are the only places where you have the benefit of like the Wi-Fi wasn't working because otherwise you can get on a network. It's just freeing. You can never escape it anymore.
Are there a lot of homeless people in Santa Monica? Is it bad? Is it as bad as people say? Like when you go for a walk?
No, Santa Monica isn't because it's rich people. So it's like a couple of them.
There's walls and stuff.
Yeah. Venice, I hear, is, no offense to anyone living in Venice, I hear we were about to get an Airbnb there, and I told Chris, I'm like, I think the homeless situation is not good there. And he was like, I don't know about that. And he texts his friend, like, my girlfriend's a little worried about the homeless situation in Venice. She's like, oh yeah, don't come here. It's bad. They, especially when they break up the camps, which they do every so often, like it's just, and I feel so bad for these people. They don't have anywhere to go. They don't want to be fucking homeless. They don't want to be on drugs. No. They don't want to, it's just, it sucks for everyone involved. And I was wanting to originally live in West Hollywood, and I just was like, I don't want to do that because I was thinking about bringing out Luigi, and I just didn't feel safe walking my dog. That's why I got all these weapons. I was just so scared of being attacked because you hear about it. But Hollywood's not great. It's not horrible, but and the Valley is nice. I mean, there's places that don't have that, but man, when I used to live in Silver Lake, and I moved out in 2018, and I drive over there now, and like everywhere near my old apartment, which was in a nice area, like all the underpasses, homeless encampments, and like just tons of tents on the side of the road. Everyone looks like they're camping out for a Harry Styles concert or like a sale at Best. It looks like Black Friday on every. They're tailgating. It's so sad, but I can make fun of it. Yeah.
Well, they don't have to. Well, they get to be off the grid, even in.
Yeah, wait, there's another one. Add it to it. Add it to the list. Spelunking, airplane, homeless. No, that's not even true. They all have phones, and that is such a shitty thing to be like. I'm not giving him a buck. He has a phone. A phone it's almost like shelter and water now. Just because someone has a phone doesn't mean that they have enough money to get clean clothes, to go get a job, and to all these things. So don't be one of those people that says I'm not giving. He has a phone. Don't be stupid. Come on.
They're
These
not on like a
Verizon.
They're not like paying $120 a month. They don't have good Wi-Fi. They probably connect to Wi-Fi outside of Starbucks. Like, don't act like they're like, how can they? Sometimes you'll see people are like, well, they're shaved. They have a shaved face.
Yeah. People love to give any excuse for why they don't need money. Yeah. Even my mom will be like, that guy's not really homeless. Like some people do stand out with signs and say I'm homeless, and they aren't. And then my mom was like, I know that motherfucker. That guy goes home. I know where he lives. There was an article about him. And I go, but isn't this humiliating? Like, isn't this a job in and of itself? I wouldn't do this. Would you stand on the sidewalk and in traffic and go up to windows and have a sign? Not that I'm saying that's like we should all give to him, but it's not work. That to me is more work than anything I would do. Or like sitting on the sidewalk with a sign and begging. That's embarrassing. It's shameful to these people.
Yeah.
They get spit on. They get told people are mean to homeless people. So before you judge someone of like they're just looking for handouts, do you think they want to be on the fucking sidewalk asking for help? And and I'm talking to all of your dads. You know, like everyone's dad is just like this. That bum. Like, I feel like dads just don't have a lot of empathy for the homeless. Like, they chose it or something. I know our listeners are smarter than that, but it's just, I think that there's a lot of like, just they chose that or they don't want to work.
That guy in the morning, like, instead of putting a suit on, he like has to throw some mud on and throw on a ripped shirt. Like he has a whole outfit. It's like he contours
all over his face. I get it. I've done it. He doesn't rub the contour in. You ever see a girl put on contour? It's just like boop, she looks like she's putting on war paint. He just does that, but doesn't rub it in.
And he's off to work. Yeah, it's a fucking job. You're right. You have to stand outside for fucking 12 hours a day.
People say she's using her kids. You know, the women that have kids. Those poor give that woman money, even though she might be using her kids. Like, she has kids. Do you think those kids want to be there? Do you think they know the difference between their mom and someone other mom? Do you think they chose that mom? Do you think they want to be there? Like, think about them. I know that the mom is shitty. Maybe like I don't know. People just have so much. And I'm the same way. I can judge people so quickly about stuff and not consider like what really brought them to this moment. The other day, Chris and I got into a I don't want to say fight, an argument. Pretty heated, and it was so helpful. And I know I've shared this before, but I worked this tool so hard the other day. And by tool I mean Chris. I worked this tool. He would not like that joke. I'm just kidding, baby. It was just a joke.
I think he'd hate that more.
Baby? Yeah, he might hate that more.
Just kidding, baby. Just kidding, baby. You can't handle a joke.
I thought you were referencing his penis. You're using it like a tool.
I worked that tool. Oh, yeah. Well,
all right, Noah.
Now you're on. Okay. Thanks, Noah. Part the balls with your nose. Old Noza over there. If you were just joining the podcast, that's a deep ham drip from way back when Noah revealed to us that she likes to take her nose and gently push it up against the ball sack scrotum, separating the two balls with her nose into, on the bottom, like going up from the bottom and separating the sack at the seam with her nose and feeling each ball gently push on
like
each
a
nostril.
sinus massage.
It is. Oh my God.
It looks exactly like
a
division sign. It looks like exactly like a division sign.
Like yeah.
Like her nose
is point.
Is the line and the balls
carry the ball. Yeah. All right.
Long division. Long ball division.
Long ball division. But we did this thing. Like we were both so mad at each other about the misunderstanding, about just, we were both at a stalemate of like, so mad. And we've all been there before with our partners of like, you're so frustrated. You know that you're not getting through. Your point is not, you've already made your point. They get your point and they don't care about your point. And you feel the same way about them. It's a beautiful thing in that moment. I was like, I knew that there was no getting out of it. It like, this was either going to like not break us up, but like be a really, really arduous long time fight. And I just didn't have the energy for it. And I just didn't want to, you know, it's just like, this is a thing that we've gotten into before. I was like, I don't want to do this again. So I just imagined, I felt my anger at how fucking angry I was at being misunderstood and how I actually understood and not empathized with. I felt so much anger that he wasn't getting it. And he wasn't apologizing, right?
Yeah.
And then I go, oh my God, he feels the exact same way about me right now. There's no way he doesn't. And then all of a sudden I was like, Nikki, just switch. Like, know that whatever you're feeling, he's feeling it towards you. He's feeling just as much frustration. He's feeling just as backed up against a wall. He's feeling just as much resistance. And I was able to just go, imagine you are in the wrong for just a second, even though you know you're not, because we were both in the right in our own way. I was just like, just imagine how much he hates you right now. Not hates me, but like the anger that he feels towards me right now. Know that he has it and feel sad. Like try to get him out of that, you know, like do what you want him to do for you right now, do for him. Apologize. Just do, even though if you don't think you're wrong, like try to find, it was just helpful to go. Cause one time I remember my sister and I were fighting as kids and I used to hate my sister. Like the hatred I would have for her in some moments was so raw and hot and real. Like, and if you have a sibling, you know what I'm talking about. Like where you're just like, I hate you, like just hate. And I remember one time I was like, Lauren, my sister was like, I hate you so much. Like, you don't even understand. Like, I wish you were dead. I hate you. And I go, Lauren, it's so weird. I've told this before. I'm like, I hate you too. Like, I feel the exact same way. Like, I know exactly. Like, you don't even have to communicate how much you want me to die. Like, I literally want you to die. Like, I hate you so much. And it was like brought us together because we both hated each other equally. And it almost was like, we have so much more in common than we think. But it always brings me back to that because I really sensed it in my sister. I was like, I just realized, I was like, oh, she feels the same way.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that in fights?
For sure. I mean, last night. When you say the apology, though, last night or the other day with Chris, did you get an apology back or were you just okay with giving the apology? Like, that's the hard thing for me.
No, I got one back.
Like,
I said, listen, I misspoke. Because I figured out like what the issue was. Like I could find some fault. I was like, my tone was not good. I was kind of looking to bring up a fight that I wanted to talk about something that wasn't this, but this was kind of like the spur of it for sure. Like I said something like, you're right, my tone wasn't good. I misspoke. I repeated back to him what he needed me to understand. And I said, do you believe me? I was like, I know that's not what you meant. What you meant was this, even though it came off across this way to me, this is what you meant. Do you believe me? He's like, I don't know, And I was like, well, can you see? And after he accepted my apology, I said, but can you see how your tone and the way you said the thing you said might lead me to get very defensive about this? And he was like, yes, I can see that. And so then we eventually, when things cooled down, we both apologized to each other for how we had acted. So I did get that, but I had to be the one to do it first. And not because I'm the better person or something. It just happened, you can't both do it at the same time or we'd have to jinx buy me a Coke.
That's true, and that's tough.
And neither of us drink soda.
Well, Diet Coke, maybe.
Zevia.
But, that happens, and we've talked about tone on here before, like, I have a lot of trouble with it, especially if someone's let's say someone's having a bad day, and then the tone is then it's shifted towards you, even though it has nothing to do with you. It's so shitty what they're going through that it comes towards you, and I can't help but take it personally, and I don't know how.
You
and then
can't
I
help
give,
it.
and then I give tone back.
That.
I give tone back, And I'm like, well, my tone is legitimate because I wasn't the first to have the tone.
But you know what I've also realized, Andrew, and that you're talking about is like even this morning, I was a little bit like upset about something and I'm not going to see him until Sunday and I'm packing to get ready. And I'm just trying to I'm just being not as cool. Like, I'm just not being warm. And I was like, are you doing this because you want him to ask you what's wrong? And the answer, or are you doing this because you really don't want to be close to him right now and this is just a natural thing? And I was like, I'm doing it. It's a little of both, but it was mainly because I wanted him to kind of notice and ask me so I can tell him what's on my mind, because I just don't want to bring it up and feel like a nag and all of those things. Like, I want him to dig for it. So it was like, I realized that I sometimes am not helping the situation. Like, sometimes I feel like when this is where, and I saw it on Love is Blind, and this is what a trap I think relationships get into. So let's say he's in a bad mood and he comes home and I can sense it in him. He's hungry, he's tired, it's whatever. He had a bad day at work. I take it so personally because I'm an adult child of an alcoholic. I take it personally. And then instead of being nurturing to him, which is what he needs, sweet to him, which is what he needs because he's had a rough day, I take it personally and then I shut down. And then I get bitchy.
And you push him
what
away.
person is going to feel closer to you that if you act bitchy, that's just giving him more of what he's dealt with in his day, more of what's going on in his head. I'm adding to it. And I see this on Love is Blind. There's this couple, if you're watching it, they are it's Cole and Janab, I think her name is. And it's so interesting because they had sex in the morning. Cole was trying to be quiet and not wake her up. and got out of bed and was like trying to, doing his like morning rituals, but he was being quiet. And she didn't know that, I'm guessing she did not know that he knew that she was awake. So she thought he was giving her the silent treatment after they had sex, when all she wanted so then what does she do? Instead of saying, why are you giving me the silent treatment? She starts fucking punishing him, because she's like, I'm not going to be the first to get hurt. I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. And then he all of a sudden is like, she is being so mean to me. What's going on? Then he's mean back to her. So it's this cycle. It's like someone's got to break it and just be nice to the other person. And I thought, I was a little bitchy this morning because I didn't get what I needed last night in terms of some kind of emotional connection. And the truth is, he was tired. I came home late. He was like bleary-eyed watching Game of Thrones, and I like walked in and turned on the lights, and I'm like, I want attention, and he didn't give it to me. And so this morning I'm like, I really regret how I acted this morning, because I was adding to what was probably I went to therapy, and she goes, one of you always needs to be the schmoopy, what she said. Oh, one of you needs to be the one that's like the baby, and the other needs to be really gentle. And if that baby is in a bad mood, don't respond to it with a bad mood. Don't take it personally. But it is so hard not to. It's so hard not to. Because we just want everyone to like us. That's why we're comedians. Like, we want everyone to like us. And when they're in a bad mood, we think it's our responsibility, when it really has nothing to do with us. People can be in a bad mood despite us, I know,
but then what is the answer to... Okay, if it has nothing to do
we'll
with us...
We'll find out that answer right after this break.
Cliffhangers.
So, what was your question, Andrew? What is the answer to what?
We should end every segment with me going, but what is the meaning of what? And find out after this. And why did my dad have an affair? Find out after this. But what is the answer?
You said, what is the answer?
What is the answer to go, okay,
be kind. Meet their mood with like a hug of like, hey,
loving,
what have you, are you okay? Do you want to talk? Be loving, be gentle, treat them like schmoopy. They're a baby.
Right.
And then sometimes you get to be a baby and they treat you like one, like it gets to go back and forth. It's really hard. But
I'll try to breathe in the moment and just take a step back and be a schmoop. Around.
It doesn't come naturally. That's the thing. I think we all want like, well, that's not how I'm feeling, so I'm not going to do it. It's like, well, sometimes you got to be this better person and just do a harder thing to see if it gives you different results. If it doesn't, if there's still a piece of shit, then go in your bad mood. But
do you ever
try maybe gentleness.
Do you ever feel like you're like, well, I'm tired in a bad mood too. Like I deserve to be.
Yeah, sometimes your
angry.
moods.
Yeah.
That's what my therapist said. She was like, it sounds like this fight that we were rehashing in therapy. She goes, it sounds like this originated from you both being tired. Not feeling like you got enough love for the past few weeks, hadn't seen each other, and you both felt I was, the fight we were reliving I was right after surgery for me, and he had just come off this bike trip where he's giving all, and then he was helping me through surgery. We get into a little tiff, and I'm like, I can't give him love because I can't even talk, and I've just been through surgery and I'm tired. He's tired because he's just like gotten me through surgery, so we were both just not there for each other, and that's where I said, next time that happens, space. We create space, because it's not, neither one of us are strong or awake enough to be the bigger person and do the harder step, which is to be nice to the other person and see what happens.
I like that.
But man, it's hard.
I think that's really helpful for people, because I think so many people deal with this.
And space,
it's hard to create
space
in a relationship.
That's the thing.
Especially if you live together.
Right. And you get to, Nikki, because for your career, you get to leave for a little bit and come back. And I think that's so helpful, or could be so helpful in a relationship for people who don't have that as part of their job.
It is. It's a great part of my job, is that I get to leave and we get to miss each other. But I do think that there is a way to get it, because I've told Chris, like, when we get to those places again where I can't be nice to you and you can't be nice to me and we're at a stalemate, I will leave. And I don't want you to take that like I'm abandoning you, that I won't come back. Like, I said this in a neutral tone, like when we were both like talking about a fight and we were both totally neutral. I was like, you need to know that if that happens again, I'm going to leave because it's not going to get better. I'm going to resent you so like it's going to build. And he sometimes takes me leaving, and I know I've taken his leaving before and getting space as abandonment. He's breaking up with me. He's going off to start like finding a new apartment. He's going off to call a friend and figure out how to break up with me. Like I take it as you're leaving me. It's abandonment.
Catastrophe.
So but I think that there's a way to just go like, I still love you. I always need that reassurance whenever we're fighting. I'm like, please just put a hand on my leg. Please put a hand on hold my hand when you are, expressing how frustrated you are with me. Just give me something that says I'm not going anywhere, but I'm mad at you. And I think that's what marriage gives people in a lot of ways is like but I mean, you could always get divorced, but it gives you that reassurance of like, I can't leave. Like if I do, it's going to take a hell of a lot more. But when your boyfriend and girlfriend, like are holding a hand, saying, I'm going to step out. I will be back. You can reach me on the phone, but I just need some time alone. This is, but that's hard to do because people are so scared of abandonment and they really get triggered when you leave them, especially in the heat of the moment.
I find like little mini space breaks, even in your own apartment, can be so refreshing. So like something as simple as like, I'll go watch baseball or football in the living room for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be on the same couch. We don't have to be next to each other, but I still love you. You're 20 feet away, but that 20 feet can literally like, that 4 hours can really like refresh everything, and you start. And I find it very helpful. And it sounds like it's nothing, but it really is like that's a reason why guys build man caves and women, fucking whatever you guys do.
Yeah, we need a little break from each other.
You need breaks, even if you live together, and it's not because you love them less. It's like, oh, I love you so much that with this. It's like restarting a computer. Like
autonomy.
I go on walks. He'll go in the bedroom and watch his phone or whatever, and I'll stay out here and play guitar. Like we take breaks for sure, but it's hard because sometimes I'll speak for myself. I feel abandoned when he doesn't want to be close to me when we have the time to be close to each other. There's like you would rather be on your phone or watching football or whatever, but whenever I express that to him, he usually makes time for me. Like there's so many times where we have been hanging out and we're watching Love is Blind or something, and I'll go, what's going on with Vrooms today? I call Formula One racing Vroom Vrooms just because I'm like, are you watching your Vroom Vrooms? And it's just to like infantilize it. And I'll go, what's going on with Vrooms lately? And he's like, oh, there's a race right now. And I'm like, why aren't you watching it? That's like if Taylor Swift like dropped like a new album and I was sitting there. He will like, put aside these really important things to make quality time with me. And I really appreciate that. But I'm totally into him having his own things that he really cares about that he can go do. Like last night I was at the Comedy Store. I was at the Improv. I did a podcast. I did Tiger Belly. I can tell you what podcast it was because it went great. And but Tiger Belly, which will be out, I guess, this week. Cool. You can find it on YouTube. It's wildly popular. You'll see if you haven't. It's a fun podcast with Bobby Lee and Khalyla. I don't know her last name.
Right?
Ex-girlfriend, and we got into some couples
that
counseling.
Had to have been,
it was very interesting.
I'm sure. I can see it. I can envision it.
It was funny because I was like asking them about like what really went wrong because I didn't know what they've covered on the show or not. This is a couple that's been together for like a really long time. I think he said like 8 years or something, and they broke up recently. They lived together for a while. They were sleeping in the same bed for a while. They still do this podcast. They share a lot together, and they're still best friends. And so I didn't know what they had covered on the podcast because I wasn't caught up. But I started like asking him about it, and he's getting into like some good stuff, and he's like, I mean, hold on, people don't want to hear this. And I go, you are so kidding? Wrong. Like your listeners are dying for these details. Like I know I am. Like this is some interesting, they went to therapy. I was asking about like what they discovered in there. Essentially, Bobby is a comedian. That's what we discovered. That's the issue. Yeah. He's someone that, and very much like me, needs constant validation. And when you're in a relationship, that's really hard because we want new validation from new people, and we are addicted to being liked and being like, what's the next thing? I want someone else to be into me. It's not even like we really want to fuck other people or date other people. We just want we can't, when you're in a relationship, you don't get validation constantly of how great you are. And we start to crave that Bobby's like, I was in New York last week. I did like 8 sets in 3 days. And I was like, I did 18 last week. I did 18 to 22. I kind of lost track. And he's like, you get it. I'm like, yes. Like, and he was trying to tell me that as a comedian, he's not a comedian because I was like, it's because you weren't loved in the way that you could have been as a child. And for you seek it out. Like we seek it out on stage every night, like getting these strangers to like us and, immediate validation, all the things we know. And he's like, no, that's not it for me. I just like it because I like performing. I didn't feel seen as a child. I'm like, yes, that you do like performing, but you didn't feel seen as a child. You want to feel seen. You want to feel liked. And we talked about bombing and he's like, I just like, Khalyla had read this text that Bobby had sent after a rough set at the Cellar. Sorry if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear all this, but it was something like, I just had a really bad set. And she goes, oh no, what happened with bad crowd? And he goes, they just didn't like me. And I go, see, Bobby, they didn't like you. It wasn't like they didn't like my jokes. They didn't like you. It's about being liked. And essentially, but that was kind of what we unearthed was like, and it was funny because Khalyla is dating women too. And I was like, and now that she's, single, she's bisexual. And so, or I don't know how she defines it, but she definitely dates women. And I was like, and we were talking about like, she kind of revealed other comedians have asked her out. Like Bobby's friends have asked her out. And like even Bobby. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, she's gorgeous and cool and not a comedian, but gets it. Like it makes sense. So Bobby was like, and I go, would you ever go down that road? And she was like, oh, never. And I go, out of respect for Bobby or because they're comedians? She goes, oh, because they're comedians. She's like, I mean, it works out that it seems respectful. She didn't say that, but that's kind of like what it implied. She was like, no, I don't want to be dragged through that shit again. Like, and I was trying to get to the root of it. Like, what is this shit? And she was like, female comics are different. I would date a female comic. And I was like, but it was an interesting conversation. But anyway, so afterwards I went and did some sets and Ben Glebe met up with me and he's going through a thing right now and we were both talking and I was like, Gad, I just want to sing. And he was like, I was like, can we go do karaoke? Because we'd done that before. And I was like, let's go get a karaoke room and just sing like 4 songs and then I got to go home because I got an early morning. And he's like, great. He's like, let's just go to karaoke at my house. And I'm like, okay, because he has this whole like comedy club in his house. And so we went to the Cellar. I ran into Carlisle. We were like, we got Carlisle on board. She's like, after my set, I'll come over. And then it got late and I was like, can we just like sing in the car on the ride home? But it was nice because I wrote Chris and I'm like, can I go do karaoke tonight? And he's sitting at home waiting for me to come home. And he's like, yeah, sure. Do it. Live your life. Like have fun. And it was just so nice to like be with someone who's not going to like be resentful of that or, on my last night in town that I want to go sing. He was like, Nikki needs this. Like he knew. And Ben was talking to me. He's like, he, I guess, saw me on Raya. I guess my profile is still active on Raya. And he was like, you got to take that down. What if Chris sees it or finds out? And I'm like, he wouldn't think that I was on, like, he wouldn't care because he would know that it's a glitch. Like, I'm not with someone who's like suspicious about me, like, or like thinking I'm going out there and doing things. Like, it just felt safe to go like, oh, right. Like most people would go, you're on Raya, but like, it's nice to be with someone who just trusts like, oh yeah, because my account, I don't know. He still, like the other day on
your profile's from Kimmel. From a month ago.
Yeah, your picture has today's newspaper in it. What's going on? I'm like, it was I went to this Future exhibit 4 years ago. I was looking on his iPad and it downloaded all his apps like from his phone, when it just downloads and it had Tinder on it. And I go, you're doing Tinder on your iPad? Or not Tinder, but Hinge or whatever. And he's like, no, it just downloaded from the thing. And I go, someone downloaded Hinge on their big old iPad. And he was like, no. And I was like, I trust you. I don't care. I love, it's hilarious to me that your profile's still out there. I don't care. But yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. It's what
what'd you do last night?
Did you end up singing or no? Did you sing in the car?
On the car ride home. It was funny. We took the car ride home and I go, Ben, what do you need to sing? Because he's going through a little bit of a thing. And he was like, and he had this like breakup mix on Spotify, and I was listing songs. He's like, I don't know that one. So we listened to Post Malone's You Probably Think That You Are Better Now. And then we also listened to If You Look the Way You Look So much. And I was about to get to my first choice of a song, which was going to be Kelly Clarkson's Breakaway, because I'm obsessed with this version of her doing it with Sam Smith that was on her show a few weeks ago. And Ben was like, can I just actually read to you this email that I sent her, like, really quick? And I was like, okay. So I was like, oh my God, this is such a scene in a movie where this girl is like a bad friend, just wants to sing her song.
You're like humming
and, like,
it under.
Keep starting it. It's like, I'll spread my wings and wait, sorry, what? Okay, yeah, I don't think it's bad that you sent that. Okay, good.
How many pages
and I'll
is this
learn
email?
How to fly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Ben is so funny. And then he's like, he's been so sad. He's been writing poetry, and he was like, I want you to read my poetry. So he hands me his phone. Dude, he wrote like, I'm not, Ben, if you're listening, which I'm sure you probably are, he wrote like, I'm not even kidding you, like 11 pages of poems. And I read like a couple and I handed it back to him and he goes, no, keep going, like read them all. And I'm like, this is so, they were good. But then I literally read for like 7 minutes.
Do you remember any of the rhymes, any of the couplets?
There was no rhymes, but it was all like, it was, they were really,
You're like,
there was some
I want
really
to
good
sing
stuff.
Leanne rhymes. Can we stop? Can we stop this, please?
I was, but it was just so funny. I was like, he's such a comedian. He's such a little boy. Like my guy friends, I just see them as little boys sometimes. Where I just go, it's so cute. Like it almost looked like he was. Because I tried to hand it back to him like 2 different times, and he goes, "You're almost done. You have 3 more to go." It's like, for me, if I was making someone read my poems, right, and they handed it back to me, I would grab it back. I don't even like to make people look at a picture of like a trip I took. I'm like instantly like, "Oh, you don't want to be bothered by that." And Ben is like, "Wait, there's like 2 more," and I'm like, "I've already spent 10 minutes reading your poems. This is the most poetry I've read in my entire life, by the way. I've never read this much poetry." And you're no Shel Silverstein.
Do you have any notes? Like, what do you feel? Like, what are you like? How do you feel about the third like verse? Like, and you're like, dude, I just want to sing.
I was
Kelly
just
Clarkson.
like, I love him so much, and I know he's going through it. And it made me love him that he is the kind of guy that will ask you to finish reading his poems when you've clearly lost interest. And it's like a little kid who's like, "Mom, look at my drawing," and you go, "Oh wow, the snowman looks like so happy, and there's the sun. I love it." And he goes, "Wait, what about this part? The flower?" And you're like, "Oh, that's good too." And it's like it was little. All my friends are little boys. Let's go to break and come back with a little bit of news and then a fun game that we'll play because it's Wild Wednesday. All right, we're back. Let's do some news.
You heard it here first. Yeah, you heard it here first.
Oh, you heard it here. It's Wednesday, folks. You know what that means? It is Wednesday. Apparently, we're having all the swells. Hope you are too out there. All right. Coming back down to Noah over there. All right. Over there. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Andrew. Actually, this story was submitted by Andrew.
Oh,
he should be reading it, but I will. So, we've been talking about why women want to have babies. And one woman says she had an orgasm during labor and she didn't want it to stop. A 36-year-old woman said she entered the orgasmic state while giving birth to her daughter, and she credits prenatal yoga classes with the pleasurable, pain-free process.
Pain-free. During birth, I surrendered my body and I had a similar sensation to an orgasm. It was really natural to push, and the contractions didn't feel as painful. I had this fullness, and I didn't want the feeling to stop. That's weird to be in the, delivery room and being like, keep going,
Yeah,
right there. And your baby is like emerging. The first thing your baby hears is your mom coming.
Yeah, it's like, put the baby back in, then back out, then back in. Oh, put the baby foot in. Oh my God. Put the head in. She said
it was harder than a marathon, and I've run many. Yeah. So prenatal yoga classes famously help women prepare for pain-free labor. If you allow birthing hormones to work for you, then a woman can come into a state of bliss or labor land. The pain is then not so intense because endorphins are flowing and there is no fear. It says that the endorphins are 10 times stronger than morphine if you can get that working for you. Wow.
It does help if you have a butt plug too, I heard, while giving birth.
I think I would kind of like labor. And I mean, cramps are hell if you have a butt plug in while you give birth, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, I just love the idea of like, let's fucking do it right.
I don't know. The idea. I guess I don't really understand what the pain is when you give birth. Is it the cramping contractions or is it the ripping?
I always thought it was like your pelvic floor is opening. So it's like your bones are shifting.
Oh God.
And your butt, like your vagina rips.
Yeah. That's,
I mean,
the episiotomy, I think, is what they do when they cut your taint. And just make it all one. I mean, it's crazy. And I can't believe we do it. And I can't believe we've done it for millennia and we'll continue to do it. What kind of birth it feels
would you
good.
want?
I bet
At
it feels
home?
like the most release ever, because that's what orgasm is for me, at least, is like, it just feels like I'm finally surrendering to this thing, like, because I fought off orgasms my whole life. I felt like they felt like this is, I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this, whatever this like boiling like teapot is. I'd rather just turn down the heat than like see what happens when it starts whistling, like I don't want it to boil over. And that was always so scary to me. And I think I don't know why why I don't hear that more often, that like having an orgasm is terrifying, because you feel like you're gonna shit yourself, you're gonna scream, you're gonna say expletives, you're gonna fart, you're gonna I just was too scared of everything. And I think that like what she's saying, you just have to like let go, and it's it would feel like the biggest, I love taking, like, I like anal because it feels like you're taking a really big shit, which feels really good. It's not like why I like it. I think that shitting actually feels more like anal than anal feels like shitting, if that makes sense. Does it make sense? I don't know. But
as long as there's a doctor
why don't
there.
men ever, I never hear men saying they're scared to come. Like, women I have heard, they're like, I don't need to come, it's like too much, it like is too sensitive. Like, I have a friend now who's like, it just feels like I'm being tickled, like in a bad way, it's just too much sensitivity, and they like don't want to come. I think it's because men never fight it.
It's because guys masturbate and come thousands of times before they ever have sex. From the ages of 13
No, but I'm talking about
16.
even before then. Even when you masturbate. Like, I feel like I think it's because it takes you guys less. It takes less sensitivity and less pressure and it takes less to make you guys come.
And it's not as intense when it happens. So there's no fear. You know what I mean? Like,
some guys are afraid to come
is
too
a
fast.
lot more. Yes, but I think they're not scared of the feeling of coming. You know what I mean? Yeah. I dated one guy who would not come, who refused to come, and it was really weird. He was always like saving it, like, I'll do it another time, like we'll do it then when it's like we're gonna have this kind of sex.
Like antidepressants?
No, he was just, and I found out later from talking to therapists, and who knows if this is his story, but like, when he comes, he feels like that woman now like has a piece of him and that he owes her something, that it's like it's now like, and the truth is, like, you do, like, men don't understand this. When you like have sex with a woman, she does feel like this closeness for you that you might not feel for her, and there is going to be a kind of an expectation on the other side of that, whether you want it or not. A lot of times.
Do you feel though that it's closer if they have an orgasm? Like, does that add to it? Yeah.
Maybe. I think that in his mind, that made it like, that's sex to him. That is like actually like, and it's like, yeah, you have the potential to get that person pregnant. So it makes sense that act would make you feel like, I'm going to be locked into this woman forever. And so he would just put it off, because I think he knew the inevitable, which was when he did eventually come, and he did this to me multiple times in our course of our dating, that he would change his mind about me as soon as he came. He would go, this is moving too fast. Literally in bed holding each other after we'd have sex, he would change his mind. And it was something that, I just was like, oh, I'll never trust this again. Not that he gave me the chance to trust it again, but I was like, I can't. It was so weird, but it happened twice, where the first time I didn't see it coming, and then the second time I was like, are you going to change after this? And he's like, I don't think so, but maybe. And then we did it, and then right afterwards I was like, how are you feeling? And he was like, I just think we rushed this. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I just flew across the country and changed my life to make this happen. Like, it was just so devastating. But
when he comes, he's like, "I hate you." Like, it's such a like such a sad. Like, it should be the most like happy, joyous moment, and it's just nothing but sadness and despair. Oh God.
It makes sense. I mean, I talk about it in my special. It makes sense because it's time to move on to the next woman. You already got this one pregnant. It makes sense why your brains shift that way. Noah, what's the next news story?
Okay, the next news story. Do you
Man
guys
comes
remember?
while wife is having baby.
Do you remember who Billy McFarland is?
The singer?
No,
Billy
it's the
McFarland,
man
no.
behind the infamous Fire Festival.
Oh yes.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, apparently,
What's he up to?
this week he teased a new project. He was on TikTok, and he basically, from what sources are saying, planning another festival.
Hell yeah.
You guys
Why
interested?
would anyone go to that?
I don't know.
Why would
go.
anyone trust
I
him
would
again?
actually want to go to that one. I gotta. I mean, maybe you go
I
through
would
hard
love
times.
you to go be an influencer at that one and go and get, and you would be happy with that meal. I saw that meal. I remember seeing that like bread and cheese, and I was like, Andrew would probably think this is dynamite. Like,
I'd be like, oh, VIP
content.
over here. Yeah. I would
In
not
a
be
little
upset
tent.
with that. Yeah, it'd be great. People are so like thinking they're gonna die. It's like you're not. You were fine. Like
That
but
guy,
yeah.
I knew he'd be up to more. That's the kind of go-getter attitude that I just don't have, that I envy. Like, he is operating from prison, making a new festival. Like, I was even walking past stores the other day on the street, and I was saying to Chris, like, God, opening a store, like managing a store and like opening a store is like, I could never do that. And he's like, I would love to do it. I'm like, you would. I could never. When people just
Never.
like love organizing things and putting things together, thank God for those people. The world would not run without you. But man, that is tough.
Inventory, get out of here. If I have to like refill a shelf, that shelf would never. That would be an empty shelf.
I don't even like girls named Tori.
Dude, do you think the Fire Fest, he'll probably try to do it in like, I don't know, New Jersey? Like, he's not going ham again. He's not going to try to do an island.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is just ridiculous. If anyone trusts him, I can't even imagine anyone going to this thing. That's enough news. Let's get to the game. Esther, Perel. Noah, pick 2 cards. Set us up for some storytelling.
This is so funny because it goes right with what we've been talking about today.
Really?
And you didn't see the cards when I picked them. So
No, I did not, David Blaine.
Yeah. Our eyes, we have no
I
idea
hope this
what's going
doesn't
to
go
come.
wrong.
Good
All right,
setup,
so
Noah.
The prompt card is share something close to your heart. And the other card is the hardest lesson I've learned about love.
The hardest lesson I've learned about love. Okay. The hardest lesson I've learned about love is that you have to say goodbye to everything. Like, at some point, you're either going to die, or they're going to die, or you're going to break up, or they're going to break up with you, or the honeymoon period will end in your relationship, or you will move out of that place that brings you a lot of good memories. Your dog will die. Like, in a relationship, there are so many small deaths, and it's like grieving all the time for just different things of like, oh, like even this place that I have with Chris right now in Santa Monica, it's like I'm already sad about moving out of here because we have so many memories here. And I just think I guess like that's the hardest lesson, is like yeah, and the more you love someone, the more you risk being sad when they're gone. And like every time you add someone to your list of things that you love, whether it's a pet or a person, you're just signing up for pain down the road. You no matter what. People go, I don't want to date again because I can't handle a breakup. I don't want to go through the pain. It's like, even if it works out, there's going to be pain because one of you is going to die, like it's always going to be pain, no matter if it's successful. So I guess that's the hardest lesson.
what hardest lesson about love spoken from the heart? That's the thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that
I
actually
think
works
that's close to your heart.
Yeah.
I think the hardest lesson I've ever learned is that the more you give doesn't mean you're going to get more in return. And that's the hardest thing. So, like, even if you show them so hard that you love them and you're fucking running in the rain for them or crying on their face, whatever, like, the more you give doesn't equal the return value you're going to get. And that's hard because you would think, why not? Why wouldn't that work? I'm giving everything. And sometimes, then that's hard. That's a hard lesson to learn. And I feel like everyone learns that once really hard, like really bad.
Yeah, that some people there's some people think that they get broken up with and there's something I can do. And it's like, no, whatever they're telling you is the reason they're breaking up with you. That's not it. It's a lot of other things. And you're like, I'll fix that thing. And they go, don't bother. Because there's, it's just usually not that. It's too late. No, what about you?
You don't want the person to like pull out a whole list of, oh, this is why I'm breaking up with you. You're just like, we don't vibe this way. And they're like, I can fix. And then it's like, if you pulled out 35 things, you would kill the person. I mean, they would die. Anyways,
but you have to give a reason because people always want a reason when you're breaking up with them. And you go, well, I'll fix that. I can fix that. I'm sorry. And they go, the saddest thing is when I've had friends who the guy will cheat on them because the guy just wants out and he wants a reason to get out. And so he gets caught cheating or he tells her and because he knows that's a deal breaker. And the girl's like, I'm willing to forgive you. And he's like, oh, come on, hun. No, like, I'm not gonna. It's over. Like, the guy still has to end it. Like, that's really, and the girls do that to men too, where it's like,
yeah, it's just funny if that happens and you forgive him, and he's like, actually, that's fourth on my list. You're too forgiving, and he's like, okay, well, I can't. Yeah,
I mean, that is a problem. Like, you're a pushover. Yeah. People kind of don't like that, but that happens a lot. Noah, what about you?
I think it kind of goes in line with what you guys are saying, but the hardest thing that I've learned is that like you have to, and it's kind of cliche, you have to like let go of your loves, and whenever they come back to you, it's always going to be stronger. Like you have to let people exist on their own for them to be better for the relationship, including myself. So that's kind of the most important
you have to let go. You can't control things as much as you wish you can, and you certainly can't control someone else. And so many of my friends in my girls chat, when we talk about our boyfriends or husbands or whatever, it's so much of like, I wish he would do this thing. I need to confront him about this. But instead we always I need to get to a place where he can figure it out on his own and think that it's his idea that I asked him to change. Like that's usually giving a person the space to go, just giving them space or not trying to change them and actually, and saying how you feel as opposed to like, you never do this, and being like, it makes me sad that I don't get to, that you don't take out the trash as much. Like it bums me out, and let them do something with your feelings as opposed to, you need to take out the trash more. Like, let them figure out, if I took out the trash, maybe she wouldn't be sad. Like that kind of thing.
In love, though, to like be able to have a life outside of the relationship, because in my past, my relationship was everything. We would hang out all day, 24 hours, do everything together. But now I see the advantage of live your own lives. Go on the Tiger Belly podcast and then go to karaoke and, like have your own fun. And then you come home and you have something to share with your partner.
And not be in trouble when I get home. Not have it be. I mean, I was worried about that the first couple times I went out to dinner with friends here, and Chris and I had kind of decided, we'll go to dinner together every night that we can. And it was one of the first nights here, and I got asked to go to dinner with some friends, and I didn't feel comfortable inviting Chris because it wasn't my dinner to do that. And I was so scared all the dinner that like I was going to come home and he was going to be kind of in a bad mood, because even though he said it's fine, like, was he fine about it? And I was so glad when I walked in and like the energy was just like no resentment. So fine. How was dinner? I hope you had fun. Like, what a fucking relief to have someone that allows you to do that. Final thought.
It sucks when you have that feeling that you're going to come back and be in trouble. And then you end up not in trouble. And you're like, no, that is how life should be. You shouldn't be in trouble. Like, You should like, but I have those same intrusive thoughts of like, I'm fucking up. I got to get home. They're going to be pissed. They're going to, and 9 out of 10 times they're never pissed. But every time I go, I'm going to be in trouble. This time's different. This time they actually didn't mean it.
Because you're reading into the text message and you're like, is this, there's not an exclamation mark, so they're definitely mad about that.
Yeah.
Like, what's the tone of this text? And you just think they're going to be mad at you. And like, what? Aren't people allowed to be mad at us too? Like, I want that ability. I want that superpower that some people have where if someone's mad at them, they're just like, okay, be mad at me. And they don't take it as like, you're a bad person. And I take Chris as when he is mad at me, I jumped to the conclusion he's disgusted with me. He hates me. He doesn't want to be around me. He can't even believe he's ever been in a relationship with me. Because I'm like, if you're mad at me one time and disappointed in me, let's say he's disappointed, I'm like, he'll never get over this. That's where my mind goes, where I'm like, and he's like, can you please just not go all to those places? But it's so hard for me not to, where I just think, anyone who's mad at me, I'll never win them over again. I've lost it completely. I'm okay with like, I had a fan write to me the other day and say something that was a little bit like accusatory and like something I did that bummed them out, something I said. And usually that would make me spiral and I would hold on to it all day. But I was just like, that person's allowed to be mad at me. I don't know. Like it was something about, I said something about my feelings and they were like, they said I'm not relatable anymore because my feelings that day were not like I had like, it's like, what do they call it? Champagne problems, like, complaining. And I go, listen, I wish do you want me to lie and say that my feelings are something different than they are? Like these,
this reminds me
I might
of
not be relatable, but it's real.
The heat that Taylor got for the, like in the video, she went on the scale.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Okay, so in her anti-hero video, I meant to address this yesterday. Thank you, Noah, for reminding me. In the anti-hero video, there's this part of the song. It's all about self-loathing, that music video and the song itself. There's a part where she's in the bathroom and she gets on a scale and she looks down and between her feet on the scale, it just says fat instead of a number. And then she looks back up at the mirror and behind her is her evil self staring at her being like disappointed, like you're fat. And people are freaking out because she's obviously through that connotating fat with bad. Her evil self is disappointed in her for being fat. And Taylor is obviously not fat. So there's a lot of things at play here. When I first saw that, I was like, not the best word to use. She could have written the word bad because there would be no indication that she's fat on the scale. When you equate fat with bad, which, Taylor's not the first person to do that, by the way. So everyone that's getting mad at her about this, do you think Taylor started the global narrative aside from a couple little communities in Africa where fat women are like that's the
ideal.
Yeah, the ideal body size.
Yeah.
Do you think Taylor's the only one that equates fat with bad? She is just highlighting something that society is already telling us. And I get it that she is putting that out there loudly and maybe not helping the fat positivity movement, which I absolutely feel like people should be allowed to be fat and not have it be something morally wrong with them or like anything shameful. Like I think fat shouldn't even be a bad word. You're fat and that's fine. Like I feel the same way about like any of these words that we think are some kind of moral judgment. Like if you're not fuckable, people are like, I'm not fuckable. Like, oh my God, like that's so mean. It's like you're allowed to be things. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. But I take those words too. I struggle with the word fat. I struggle with feeling and associating that with like you're somehow less than. I'm not the first person to say that. People have come at me about it before. Nikki, you're talking about how you feel fat and you're kind of implying that that's a bad thing. Are you kidding me? Look around us. Do you think the society is? Am I the first person to say that our society does not treat fat people the same way? And I know it's not helping the narrative of treating fat people better. But again, I think pretending like oh, everyone loves fat people now, everyone's accepting of it, is not the move. Not acting blind to the fact that, no, we're still getting inundated with diet culture and being thin. The Kardashians are now sucking all the fat that they put into their bodies out because thin is in again. So Taylor or me or whoever you're coming after about who are struggling with this feeling of being scared of being fat or being fat and feeling like that makes them less. I'm sorry that if you're a fat person and you feel like, wow, you're connotating fat with bad. We can't help that that's how we feel. That's what society has given us. And when you make art like Taylor is making, maybe she made a misstep. I knew it was going to be a misstep. I knew people were going to come after her. But she's just highlighting what society is telling her. She's not saying fat is bad. She's saying that is how her brain has been warped. So in doing that, I bet you anything that's what she would say. I'm not saying fat is bad. I wish that weren't the case, but I feel like that's what society's telling me, and that's what my inner demon on my shoulder is telling me. Does that make sense, the distinction between those two? But I also see why fat people are very upset by that, because if, let's say Taylor wrote, I don't know, like something I'm struggling, like saggy jowls, and was just like, oh, that's the grossest thing ever. Like whenever my friends are insecure about something that I have, I take it so personally because I'm like, you're saying that this thing that I have is bad. And it's like, yes, because you think it's bad about yourself. The only reason you're getting upset about feeling like it's bad because you hear from society that it's bad, Nikki. Like you already got that message. They're just highlighting it, and you're putting all your anger at them. When really the problem is talking about these things and saying, how ridiculous is it that we think that being fat is bad? What? Because someone eats more food than someone else. When someone might struggle with a food addiction, someone might not be able to exercise as much. Someone might have a thyroid condition. Why do we associate that with laziness, with their bad, with they are unlovable? That is the issue. Why do we associate it with? Don't deny that that's what we do as a society. When artists are asked to censor themselves and not say their true feelings, even if their feelings spit in the face of everything you want to believe about yourself, Taylor Swift doesn't want fat to equal bad. But that's what it still does.
It's an honest thought that she has in her head. It's an honest thought.
And we are not going to get past it. And I don't think we'll move towards a non-fat phobic society. I don't think we'll get there unless we call out the fact that it is still rampant. And that is not solved because of Dove body commercials. Lizzo didn't solve it. Adele didn't solve it. Ashley Graham didn't solve it. We need so much more than that. And I think just acting like everything's fine now and fat is beautiful and everyone thinks so. I think so. The America thinks so. It's okay if you still struggle with connecting those two. Your whole life you've been inundated with fat equals wrong. And we all know that not to be true deep in our core. But acting like everything's fine now is not the way to address things. It's just not. And I think that's what cancel culture is. It's like, just, don't talk about rape. You can't make jokes about rape. You can't talk about rape. You can't just pretend it doesn't happen and it'll go away. Because any mention of it is making someone who's been raped the butt of the joke. It's like, no, it's not. I'm commenting on something that is currently plaguing our nation and plaguing my thoughts. And I don't like rape, but I'm going to talk about it. And just because I haven't been raped doesn't give me, doesn't mean I can't talk about it. I think that people are so sad and people feel so victimized, and they should, because it sucks out there, and that they want everyone to shake everyone and just be like, fat is okay. I'm okay, right? Taylor Swift thinks I'm okay. She does think you're okay. What she doesn't think is okay is these thoughts that tell her that fat is not okay. That's what she doesn't think is okay, and that is what she's calling out. Final answer. Okay, now I have to go. Well, stay tuned. We have one more episode tomorrow. Thank you for letting me have that little tirade. I appreciate you all, meaning Noah and Andrew and all the listeners. And if you disagree with me and have something else to say on the matter, maybe I'm getting it wrong, maybe there's a blind spot for me, please let me know. I would love to hear it, because I don't think I have it all figured out, even though the tone of my voice definitely suggested I did. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Don't be cool. And
Jack-o'-lantern
Williams.